is how we do it. This is how we do it. La, 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 la.
What is up, fellow members of the Galactic Republic, Separatist Alliance, Galactic Empire, Rebel Alliance, First Order, and New Republic members? This is Devin with Gaming in Progress, and I am going to wish you, very first before we get into anything here, a very happy May the 4th. That's right, folks, today is the 4th of May, also known as May the 4th, also known as Star Wars Day, so may the 4th be with you. Now, in celebration of May the 4th this year, I want to take the time to go over what is, in my opinion, 5 of the best Star Wars games of all time. Now, this is just my opinion. I'm sure there are people out there who are going to disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly acceptable. But this is my opinion, and these are just some of the games. I mean, there have been a lot of good Star Wars games. There have been a lot of bad Star Wars games, but I wanted to keep this list on the small side. So I chose 5 games that I've had really good experiences with and enjoyed playing with. And so we're getting into this list here, okay? Number 5. Star Wars Republic Commandos. Perhaps one of the most interesting and unique games on this list, in my opinion. LucasArts put so much into Republic Commandos. I mean, you have 4 people, you have 4 squad members. They have their own individual personalities and quirks and skill sets and positions and stuff. But let me tell you a little bit about this game. So, Star Wars Republic Commando was a first-person shooter developed by LucasArts. It was put on PC, and it was also released on the original Xbox in 2005. And it used the Unreal Engine, and basically was designed to fill the gap between Star Wars Episode 2 and Star Wars Episode 3. So filling the gap between the initial Attack of the Clones, big battle on Geonosis, everything's crazy, and then Episode 3, Anakin Skywalker beheading Count Dooku and shit like that, and yeah. So anyway, this follows the story of Delta Squad, which is a elite group of clone commandos, and it follows them through their missions during the Clone Wars. Now they were trained by Mandalorian mercenaries, much like a lot of clones that we find were trained by mercenaries late into the war, because the Kaminoans can keep up with the demand of the war, so they had to start producing clones faster, so clones weren't trained as much, or they didn't have knowledge input in their heads as much, I believe, so they had to rely on training with mercenaries and other commandos and stuff like that. So the game covers Delta Squad as they go through 3 major locations. You have Geonosis, a derelict acclimator assault ship, and then of course Kashyyyk. Now actually that's not entirely accurate. I mean, technically you start out in Kamino, because what's really cool about Republic Commando is it's all first person, so from your perspective you play from beginning to end, because you start out as a clone in a birthing chamber, and then you grow up some, and you're receiving your like initial teachings and stuff like that, and then you grow up some more, and you're getting combat training and stuff like that, and you get your helmet and all this cool stuff, and it was a really well done game in my opinion. And it's a real shame that there's no Republic Commando 2, and I don't know if there's ever going to be a Republic Commando 2, but it was a really good game. And one thing that's kind of neat is, I mean, it is canon, because there was a Republic Commando in Star Wars The Clone Wars, and Star Wars The Clone Wars is still canon as far as I know by Disney, so that was really cool. And the game was a lot of fun. I mean, you get to control yourself, you get to command the commando squad that you're in, telling them what to do, putting charges on stuff, or which weapons to use and stuff like that. So really it was a lot of fun, and if it's not a game that is a game you've played before, and it's not a game that's in your library or your game library, whether it's on PC or whatever. It's definitely a game worth checking out, in my opinion. So we're going to move on to the next one on our list. Number 4. It's Lego Star Wars 3: The Clone Wars. Now, Lego Star Wars 3: The Clone Wars is, of course, a non-canon game in the Star Wars universe, like all the Lego games, because they have to change stuff, and player interaction changes stuff as well. So it's the third game, technically fourth game in the Lego Star Wars game universe. I say fourth game technically because you have Lego Star Wars, which was episodes 1 through 3, and then you have Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, which was 4, 5, and 6, and then you have Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, which basically bunches those into one game. So technically it's the fourth game, but it's also, but I mean, it's really the third game, kind of. It's confusing, but anyway, what sets this game, there are a couple things that set this thing apart from the other two, obviously. Unlike Lego Star Wars 1, Lego Star Wars 3, the Clone Wars, follows the Clone Wars TV series, where the first Lego Star Wars game rather, follows Star Wars episodes 1 through 3. So, episode 1, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Empire Strike, or whatever, not Empire, Revenge of the Sith. But this one follows, I believe, the first season of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. And Star Wars: The Clone Wars was really good. Like, there are people out there who don't watch cartoons at all who love Star Wars: Clone Wars, because it's just that good. The narrative is good. We get to see a much better side of Anakin Skywalker before he's this whiny emo bitch who subsequently becomes Darth Vader because reasons. But so you have the first season of Star Wars: The Clone Wars to play through, and there's different levels. There's a lot of different vehicles and a lot of new characters that you get to play, and they have new abilities and new ways to do weapons and stuff, and a lot of new vehicles too. I mean, the amount of stuff that they put in this game is really impressive. I mean, they have all these new ships and all these new land vehicles, from artillery cannons to the Clone Wars style walkers to speeder bikes and stuff like that, and it's really impressive. But two of the coolest things to me in this game are as follows. One, your home base is, instead of a cantina like it was before, your starting location is actually the Resolute, which is, as you probably know, Anakin Skywalker's flagship during the Star Wars Clone Wars TV series. So your starting location is the Resolute. You can go through the different decks of the ship. You can find areas to do target practice with turrets and stuff. But you also have a hangar bay, which houses all your ships and stuff. And you can get into a ship and go fly it off in space and fight in space and stuff like that, and do space combat, which was kind of neat. Granted, it's still kind of the side scrolly space combat. It's not the Star Wars Battlefront II type space combat, but it's still a lot of fun. And then you also have a vehicle bay where you can play around with the ground vehicles, which was also a lot of fun. But the second thing that really stands out in this game to me, this is just, again, my opinion here, is the fact that you can do kind of these versus ground battle type stuff, which was really cool and a really interesting concept for them to put into the game. So I highly suggest, if you have a friend or maybe a younger brother who's into Star Wars or whatever, younger family members, the Lego games overall are a great way to introduce them into it. So we're going to move on from Lego Star Wars 3 and get into the next game on our list. Number 3. Next up on our list is number 3, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And of course, obviously, Knights of the Old Republic 2 was also very good as well. This is a game that was a hell of a game done by BioWare, who is very well known for some of the amazing RPGs they make. And it delivered a really compelling story, even with RPG elements. And the universe, which was set, it was set way before everything else that we had come to know about Star Wars. Much like the Old Republic MMO is also set in the same universe, but thousands of years before. So you get to explore a galaxy where the Jedi are numbered in thousands, compared to like in the Clone Wars, where I think there's only like a couple hundred Jedi at the time. And you get to discover more about the Sith and stuff like why the Sand People hate outsiders and stuff. And you get to meet so many interesting characters and discover their backstories. And it was a really good game. A little bit about it. It was obviously developed by a little bit more about it. Obviously, it was developed by BioWare. It was a game that took place after the Tales of the Jedi comics, during the time of the old or the ancient Galactic Republic, which predated the Republic that we see in the Clone Wars, and obviously really predated the Empire and the First Order and the New Republic. So the game allowed players to either be a servant of the light side of the Force or the dark side, meaning Jedi or Sith, and it used an alignment system to track actions from dialogue choices to plot decisions, much in the same way that Mass Effect has the Paragon and Renegade system in that respect. The combat was actually kind of different because it was turn-based combat, and usually in more modern RPGs you don't see turn-based combat. But it was interesting, and the story, I mean, really in a game like that, the most important thing, I think, is the story, and it was a really good story. It even ended, I mean, as we know, it even ended up getting a sequel. Granted, it was developed by Obsidian Entertainment, but the sequel is good. The opening game, the original game, was good, and it's definitely a game that is worth checking out and spending some time in and getting into the world. And you might see Star Wars in a new light when you play some of these older games, such as Knights of the Old Republic. That being said, let's move on to the next number on our list. Number 2. Okay, so next up on our list, we have Star Wars Empire at War, also known as EAW or just Empire at War, which in my opinion, which for me personally is one of my favorite Star Wars games of all time, simply because it combines two things that I love, which is real-time strategy games and Star Wars. And really, what's really amazing about this game is it still holds up to this day. Granted, there aren't as many people playing it on like Game Ranger and stuff, though I do find games every now and then. It's still a really fun game. The modding community has done a lot of great things from it, a lot of conversions of it, from the Clone Wars mod to Republic at War to Sci-Fi at War. It's really amazing how awesome this game is. So let me tell you a little bit about the base game, because I don't want to just talk about the mods and stuff. So Empire at War was a real-time strategy game released by LucasArts in 2006, taking place in the Star Wars universe. And it was a game that was basically, it was Command and Conquer styled, really. You had ground combat, you had space combat, you had Galactic Conquest, similar to Galactic Conquest in Battlefront II, but on a much larger scale. Like, if you played Galactic Conquest and Empire War, it was much better fleshed out, in my opinion, because, I mean, you weren't just, it wasn't just like AI true. It was just on such a larger scale. I feel that it worked better than it worked in Battlefront 2. And you have space stations, you have planetary buildings you can build. You upgrade your space station and your planetary buildings, and that gives you access to new ground troops, new space troops, new technology, new stuff to research. I mean, it's typical. It's some stuff that seems very typical to a real-time strategy game of that era. But I mean, it was just so well done. Everything felt very fluid, in my opinion, and you could get some really awesome stuff. And you had the choice between the Rebel campaign or the Galactic Empire campaign, and then of course with the expansions came all these different campaigns. Like then you could do the Galactic Republic campaign or the Trade Federation campaign, and it was just this game. It's a really addictive game too, because you get into it and then you've got the action cam where you can just kind of like watch the battle unfold in these good angles and stuff. Though the camera did kind of pick some bad angles every now and then. Overall, like, it was just so much fun to watch, and it's so much fun to play, in my opinion, and that makes this a really great game, hence why it's second on the list. If it wasn't for this next game, it would probably be first on the list, hands down, if I was really honest with you. So if you don't have this game, I would super duper highly recommend you pick it up, or you get it on Steam or whatever means, and you try it, and you try some of the mod and some of the conversion mods, because I mean there's some really great ones out there, and they do a lot for the game, and they continue to build on the game, and it's just a lot of fun. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. But we're going to get to our last game on this list here in just a moment. Number 1. Okay, so the last game on this list is, of course, and I'm sure some of you guys saw this coming, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Perhaps the greatest game of any Star Wars game of all time. It was way ahead of its time. It was a sequel to Star Wars Battlefront, which was a really good, high-selling game in its own right. But Battlefront 2 took it to a whole new level. You had more heroes, more villains, a hell of a lot more places to play in. It was a lot of fun. You had a great campaign. You had space battles. There's just so much great stuff about this game that I have to go through because I couldn't forgive myself if I didn't. So, Star Wars Battlefront 2, obviously the sequel to the high-selling Star Wars Battlefront, which was a really good game in its own right, but Battlefront 2 was much better. The games are pretty similar, as they both revolve around troops from different factions and stuff. However, Battlefront 2 included elements from Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, as well as a good influence of Episode 2. What was one of the really great things about this one, in my opinion, was the campaign was really good, because it basically walked you through, or led you through, a 501st clone trooper's perspective of the war, from the Battle of Geonosis all the way up leading to the rise of the Empire, all the way even past that to the fall of the Empire, which was really interesting in my opinion. I mean, you start off as a clone trooper, and then you progress a Mark 1 clone trooper, and then you progress into a Phase 2 or Mark 2 clone trooper, and then the Mark 3, and then you end up a stormtrooper, and then the Battle of Endor, and all that stuff was really great. And the story was a really good story. I think it was one of the best stories for a shooter type game, first or third, that I've ever played, and just in my opinion. And I mean, excluding games obviously like the Metal Gear series, or Metal Gear Solid 5 in particular, because that game had a really great story as well. And then of course you had instant action, which was a really great concept that I'm kind of disappointed that the new Battlefront doesn't have, because as you know, There was supposed to be a Battlefront 3 that didn't happen, but now Battlefront lives on in EA and DICE's version of the game, which has gotten better and better as it goes along. But I was really surprised it didn't have instant action, which was basically you could choose however many maps you wanted in order, and then you would choose the game modes for those maps and how many units you would have and stuff like that. And it was really this in-depth thing that you could kind of customize how you wanted these battles to go out, whether they were land or space battles, galactic civil war or clone wars, if you wanted to have no heroes on, or like 1 second you become a hero on, or whatever. It was really cool. It did also have galactic conquest, where players fighted for faction control of the galaxy. Again, like I said in the previous part of this video, it wasn't as well done as Galactic Conquest was done in Empire at War, in my opinion. To me, I feel like they kind of just put that in to have something extra in, and it was okay, but it wasn't great, you know. It had a really good single-player experience. It had really good AI too, really, for the time. And the game was available on PS2, PC, Xbox, and then it even got released to fucking PlayStation Portable, of all things. And you know this was such a good game because it spawned so many sequels, and there would have been a Battlefront 3 if LucasArts didn't go bye-bye, I think. So I don't know how you could have not played this game, or how you could have missed out on this game or not owned it at some point. But if you don't, like, just stop listening to this video and just like go get this game. Or if you can't find this game, get the new Battlefront, because the new Battlefront is relatively good, but this one is even better gameplay wise and fluid wise. Whereas the new Battlefront has really good visuals, and I hope that it's going to get to the point where the new Battlefront succeeds or surpasses Battlefront 2. But for the time being, I still rank Battlefront 2 as the #1 Star Wars game of all time. So that pretty much does it for this list. Hopefully you guys have found it informal, and hopefully you guys have some new games to play on this May the 4th. So, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please be sure to give it a thumbs up button. Yes, that's right, folks. I need you to go to the store, buy a thumbs up button, and give it to this video. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, leave them down below. Let me know if you guys agree with this list, if you disagree with this list, if you think anything should have been on it, or if you think that my choices were just stupid or whatever. Let me know in the comments section below. And yeah, that pretty much does it for this video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. This has been Devin with Gaming in Progress, wishing you a very happy May the 4th, and may the 4th be with you.